Okay. All right, guys. So we're back to the cosmic flow. Just want to bring you guys up to speed. I had a meeting with the JP Morgan lady, and she really loved our idea. She actually, right after I shared our idea, she gave an example of a friend who has been struggling with her daughter, and her mental health. And her daughter went and stayed with their grandma on a farm, and she's fine now, like no drugs, no medical things. So she's definitely understands what we're doing and the importance of it. I've been trying to come up with like a pitch deck for what we're doing, but I'm curious, like Ankur, have you what thought have you given since the last time we spoke? And Charlie watched the video, so he's up to speed with our last meeting. So anything that has been percolating in your world or anything you want to share?
Yeah, I mean, I love the idea of some kind of interconnected gamified platform that allows people to find projects around them, right? And then, like you said, some an example is Billy, what's her last name?
Billy Marie?
Marie, right? Um, yeah, if I were in Huntsville and I can access cooperation and the project going on, what's around me? Who's around me? What properties are around me that I could either lead a project or join a project. And having that kind of gamified platform is something I I think that's feasible to do that. And then also some kind of satellite imagery and analytics around the health of that property, vegetation health, land cover types in that property, what it needs, and what zone is it located in, what biome is it in. We can add all of that data easily.
Yeah, and I saw recently Google just released an API for like air quality.
Yeah, air quality. They have pollen, air quality. They bought it out from other providers, and yeah, yeah, and tree canopy cover as well. So we can do that too.
Can I ask a little bit more of a question that's more like overhead question?
Hmm.
Like, have you played games on Cur? Like, what are some of your favorite games that you really enjoy playing?
I haven't played as much as most people would have, but one game I really liked was the Harry Potter, um, and the Philosopher's Stone, and even I think Prisoners of Azkaban, the PC games.
Hmm.
This was a long time ago,
Yeah. What did you
and
like about those games?
I think what I like is it's like more of a journey. It's not just a 2D thing. It's you enter, you fulfill a mission, and then that leads you to the next step. And there's this element of mystery and secretive. Yeah, that the third image on the first row. Yes, that's the one. That's the Chamber of Secrets. But yeah, the first all three parts are pretty good, and they're old. But but there's this element of mystery, this element of a journey, and you meet people along the way as well. Meet different characters, and they tell you a story, and then so it's a storytelling mystery journey and more of a quest-like approach where it's yeah, it's awesome, really cool.
Yeah. So I think that's important for us to just start from there too, because I think
Mm,
as technologists, we like to think
mhm,
about um, the skill set we're trying to teach our audience, but not the
mm,
story we're trying to teach, right? Because
mhm,
really, what you said is basically the foundation of most RPG games, right?
mm,
You're a character that plays into a world, and you are in a journey, and the journey is catered to you, but it's still in a way like you still have supposedly the idea that you can kind of go wherever you want to, right?
mm,
And so as much as what's really funny is that what happens in the tech space, and you see this a lot, is they get really heavy with the numbers and the tech, but they
yeah.
don't have a story of why those numbers matter, right?
Mhm,
And I want us to not get caught up in that, because that's our strength as technologists, but we tend to forget what the story is and what we're doing it. And so what will happen is
yeah.
we'll actually overburden the player with data, right?
Mm,
And so a lot of times, that's great, but really like it's getting the player to actually be committed to that and to that journey, to that story
mhm,
quest. And so I think like you have like what you were doing was really cool, because you really like broke down in numbers what is it that our environment is struggling with.
mhm,
But a lot of times that data is only understood by the left brain technical people,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you see where I'm getting at, right? It's like our job is actually how do you like tell that story? So it's not like, hey, there's a low air quality of 10%, 50%, whatever. To a regular person, it means nothing. But what is it that's going to make us very compelled that like, hey, the plants are not able to grow because of the lack of oxygen. How will we go about supporting oxygen in this area? You see what I'm getting at? And so it's
Yeah.
really what is important is the quest system that we're looking at to build,
Mm-hmm.
right? Versus we don't want to get too technical too fast because a lot of time when we get technical, what happens is we miss what is it that's actually fun about the experience, and that's kind of why like for me too, like I was in games and I was developing games, but like too often people were just showing off what they thought was cool about the game, but not making it interesting for the people that are trying to actually play the game.
Mm-hmm.
Because we have to remember that the people that are coming here, like the daughter, right? The daughter of the JP Morgan, like she doesn't want to know any of those numbers. But if there was a quest where it's like saying, something kind of clever to kind of get them to go, hey, check out this really cool, awesome place. But in our head, we're able to use those numbers to direct quests,
Mm-hmm.
right? Where it's like, hey, imagine this farm. Well, based on the data that we have, we're going to say, hey, it requires 4 to 5 people to come to this project versus this person just needs someone to pull out weed. Well, maybe we just need 2 people to show up. And so
Yeah.
this quest is a 2-star quest out of 5,
Mm-hmm.
and it gathers this people to do more of that, right? And
Mm-hmm.
and so it's kind of like how do we kind of have fun with getting people out there, but then the
Yeah.
data is what we use to kind of hide the fact that we're matchmaking people, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So,
actually, that's a good point. It's like it's a matchmaking. It's like taking
mhm.
matchmaking to another level because it's connecting with like that because that's a problem. I don't know if Ankur you've connected with this problem of like a lot of these like sustainable farms, ecological projects, they struggle with volunteers and maintaining volunteership,
100%, 100%. Yeah, yeah.
right?
So it's a difference by saying, hey guys, come join us. We're going to put all this poop and all this compost in the dirt to help the environment. Or have you ever wondered what it would like to reorganize Earth and allow beautiful plants to grow? You're like, oh sure, that sounds cool. And then by the time you go there, you don't really need to know all of the stuff that is involved because a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times what happens is when we give too much data to people, and you see it in certain apps. Sometimes they're just the app. You're just like you go when you get into an app and they're like 20 questions. You're like, oh, fuck, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not playing this game anymore because there's
Yeah,
just so many questions. But you come
yeah.
in, you put your birthday, and boom, you're like, hey, did you know there's these quests that are rarely in tune with you? So what we're trying to do is on my end, I like the so for games. So like Harry Potter, you're
Mm-hmm.
gonna be one of the 4 houses, right?
Mm-hmm.
And based on those houses, your quests are probably related to a Gryffindor house,
Yeah.
Hufflepuff. So think of
Yes.
that for us, where we want to use kind of like their astrology or their natural talents, and then give them a sort of matchmaking, so they naturally kind of get into like, wow, I didn't know, like I'm a water wizard. That's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
And so in a way, there's a discovery, but we're in the background kind of trying to match make certain things that are going to be more compelling. And so we will use kind of the 4 elements of the foundation. So like
Mm-hmm.
if we're talking like earth, water,
Air,
fire, air,
fire.
right?
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah.
you could use that data at first for a farm, and then and then under because this even the farmers too, they're not gonna sit down and break down what is it that they need in the entire farm and all those projects, because if on both end we make it too data heavy, they're not gonna do it.
Yeah.
And that, I think 100% is why most apps fail,
Yeah.
is they get the technical people to write the app, not a storyteller to mask
Mm-hmm.
the data, if that makes
Nice.
sense, right?
Great
And
point.
so we
Great
have
point.
to think that way because technically as technologists, we could break down everything into numbers. That's the
Yeah.
easy part.
Mm-hmm.
But if we understand why we're doing it, you'll start to realize that maybe we don't do data heavy, but we actually try to do more matchmaking heavy or whatever that, that's what I'm trying to do is what is it? The most important part I think for us is how do we get people to come and do quests?
Mm.
For us to figure out the data, but really is what is that genuine like interest? Because like all the things that you said, there's no technical. You didn't say anything technical about the game. You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
came from a space of I'm a human that just thought this is a cool, fun mystery.
Right.
So if like the quest is the farm is failing, there's a mystery to be found. You're like, whoa, like that sounds fun, right? And so that's the fun part about storytelling is
Mhm.
how do we kind of get players to play so that the data doesn't become too heavy for them to kind of process, if that makes sense. Because I think your stuff was amazing, but
Yeah.
even then I was like, I don't know what to do with that. I mean, I do know, but like as a regular player, like I wouldn't know even how to address like what can I do with all this data? If that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Totally. 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 And I like that the data is more of the back end, to allow people to not even consider that's yeah. Yeah, it depends on the target audience, right?
Yeah.
Who you're shooting for. So
Yeah. Yeah. So, I think really we should be focusing on, I think, family friendly type. This is what
mm,
Disney was really good at is it is the kids that want to do it, but like sometimes there's certain age where, yeah, parents can send their kids out to do it. Right. But imagine if actually parents went with their like 6-year-old and 7-year-old.
mhm,
Right. And so what is it that we can create that is engaging for both of them?
mm, got it. Got it.
But
Which
yeah.
reminds me also, Charlie, like remember, I don't know if you remember, but when we kind of laid out like a map, maybe I'll share that with you, Ankur. We
Mhm,
also thought like how it's important for there to be like mentorship. Like that's such a
mm,
like a key element of us, like embodied mentorship. So, it's not just like, oh, just go volunteer at a place, but like also, if you're a water sign, right? Or whatever, like, and you kind of onboard in that way to find a water mentor that's in your local area that you can that can actually start to onboard you into projects so that you're not just like willy-nilly going into things. And then like also it's a way to mitigate bad actors, right? And like to cultivate good actorship, and good authorship, but like also that potentially being a way for educators or healers or whatever farmers to actually start to earn some sort of regenerative economic model, right? So that's like
mhm.
creating some sort of support, like an economy around education and mentorship, Um,
Yeah,
Charlie, do
100%.
you have that link? If I'm trying to find it right now.
Which one? I
The
still
one of like that like the wireframe we made of like the mentorships. Remember that thing?
yeah.
But yeah, Uncle, because like I don't know, like have you come across like these maps of like community gardens or farms or community like urban farming and urban gardening?
Mhm.
Like you've seen those,
Some.
right?
Yeah, yeah, some.
Yeah, like why do you think they don't pick up speed or like people
Mm.
don't use them? Like what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's just showing a map. That's here's a community garden, and that's it. That's the end of it. There's no story around it. There's no motivation for people to go there yet from just that map.
Right? I mean, and also you've talked to people who like run
Mhm.
these farms. Like only when they connect with you deeply do they tell you like what like the compelling story.
Yeah,
Like, oh, like I'm running out of
yeah,
funds, like
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
Like they don't right away tell everybody
They
what
don't write that
no.
100%, 100%. Yes,
So
right.
that's interesting for how we can get that story. How can we like
Mm-hmm.
have them share that story in a way that it doesn't feel like negative for them, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And the
Yeah,
irony is, I think most farmers, they're like the coders, they're technical in the farming,
100%.
right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so it's hard for them to sell the idea like, oh, it's fun to like, most of them, I mean, unless they really love it, most of them are actually doing it because it's their job, right? Like they are working on the
Mhm.
farm to do it. So the problem is like, again, like we get the idea of why farming, but like there's usually like we can play with it, right? And that's kind of why like I think the idea of games work. And plus this is the audience of today, everyone is playing some kind of game, right? And so it allows it to just be more playful, because even if it's hard work, it doesn't have to feel like hard work, right? Because in the end of the day, like if you're like, oh, I just pulled a whole bunch of weeds, I'm not sure the purpose of that. Yet, like if you said like, hey, we've been battling the shadow of famine, and today by putting in 3 hours of work, we have stave off the doomsday clock, right? There's this apocalypse clock or doomsday clock that climate people like to use, so we can say, hey, you've staved off the apocalypse for another 3 days because you put in 3 hours of weeding out the plants, and now
Mm,
even though you're not seeing the food come out on, because the thing is, a lot of times when you do farming, you're not going to see anything that day,
yeah,
like
yeah.
this, right? But if you were there for a whole year, you would get to experience a whole growth
Yeah.
of doing something and seeing something out of it, right? So a lot of times, like, we have to kind of give people this almost emotional connection for seeing their reward in a few weeks, if and that's the goal. Is we don't want the one-time user to come in. That's really not compelling to us. We want the person who is coming in, and maybe it is like,
Okay.
maybe it is a summer, I mean, just idea for kids. I think summer camp would be a great idea, right? Because
Hmm.
a lot of times, like today, I don't know what summer camps are, but a lot of people just don't have an opportunity to go to like really cool summer camps. So maybe like there was a summer camp for farming, and we were able to do stuff during the summer that gets kids more
Hmm.
entertained in like the farm space.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Hmm.
Okay, this is what we created. Do you remember
Okay.
this, Charlie?
Yeah, that's one of them. I think I created one of. I had to go back to my thing.
Um, yeah, so it was kind of like we were like thinking about things like this, um, obviously, trying to make it cool looking. But can you see that?
Hmm.
Maybe I should center this spotlight for
Yeah,
everyone.
yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
All right, cool. So it's kind of like, just like thinking about how like how I don't know, like we were like thinking like how there's all these right now, like there's all these people who are doing classes and trainings and like whether it's breath work or meditation or
Mhm.
whatever, it's like all in their separate buckets, right? It's not in one consolidated place. So we're like thinking like how can we like start to like create bookings, but the bookings are connected to a way that can actually like create around the elements, but also where volunteering can be, you can redeem volunteering for those courses,
Mm.
right? So it's like kind of like let's say you don't have the money to learn meditation or learn yoga, or right, yoga's so expensive, but like you don't have the money to do that stuff. Okay, well, go and volunteer at a place where you can earn those heart coins. We call them heart coins, and the heart
Mm.
coins are what you earn no matter what if you're volunteering. So whether you're volunteering for with the water a shed, or volunteering with air, or volunteering with earth, or volunteering with whatever, you're going to earn heart coins, right? Heart tokens.
Right.
And those can always be redeemable to anything that anybody like if whatever you can, let's say you even want to get a website made, you can get the website made from somebody who will accept the heart coins,
Mhm.
you know
Right.
but and mentors can decide, do you want to receive heart coins, or you can be like, oh, I can't receive any more heart coins right now, I need actual money, right? And but that money can be redeemable as well. So it's there's a way to, what you can say, Charlie.
Yeah, so the idea of the hardcore is really just the idea that, because we talked about this, is how do we get to a place where everyone feels abundant and they're always kind of giving something, rather than, because the problem with like community service in the West is that it's considered a punishment, right? You get community service when you have to like go to college, or you are in jail, or you're juvie, right?
Yeah, or old age home or something, or
Yeah.
yeah.
Exactly. So we're really trying to like not monetize, but create an ability to exchange energy, where
Mm.
people are actually giving from space of like, I do this, I love doing this, but like who wants to do it, and I don't really need payment because maybe I'm okay without payment for now. But eventually, like, if you're so good at it, you're like, hey, actually you are worth this much, and then we could then say there's a way to convert some of these coins into something that is real payment. But in the end of the day, like, if let's say I'm looking to eat food, but like there's actually, we have a marketplace that gets me
Mm.
food, and I can actually give hard coins to this place to give me food. Because the thing is, the way you actually cultivate hard coins is you actually do service based work, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in a way, it's almost kind of like the entire currency is based on helping out and doing community service, right? And that, like, no one talks about, because again, like, people think is a punishment. So how do we reward in a way that it feels like it's rewarded, but just, it still has that fun space without like, because once you put money in, people then get really like nitpicky and like, well, I'm worth this and I'm worth that. Like versus like when we're doing coin a heart, it's almost like you are abstracting what you consider valuable or not, so that it comes from a place of like giving rather than just like what am I getting out of it, right? Because a lot of people think that way in the West, and so we're trying to make it, in that way, like much more open.
Yeah, what do you think about this, Unker? Like, or any ideas or thoughts?
Thoughts? Question is, so I love this idea in terms of earning hard coins in exchange for service-based work. I think that's awesome. How would you make that so redeemable at, Charlie, you said something like a food marketplace that would
Dave and
accept it.
Buster. We have
Dave and
our own
Buster.
Dave and Buster.
Have our own Dave and Buster. Interesting. Okay. And yeah, I'm just asking how it would, like, how would you partner with places that would accept this as a heart as a currency?
I mean, it would start with us, but even like the
Mhm.
farmers, like farmers
Mhm.
have so much food sometimes. When you have enough people who are harvesting, they give away
Yeah.
food. So how do you
Yeah.
turn that giving away food into like, here, get some hard corns? And suddenly
Hmm.
you have all these hard corns. I'm like, hey, I can get now give people 20 hard corns to just show up and pull weeds for me.
Yeah,
Or
yeah, yeah.
you see, so there's a lot of intrinsic value of the bar. We're basically monetizing bartering so that it's not so difficult,
Hmm.
because what's difficult with bartering, some people don't know what is their value or not, right?
Yeah.
But also what we can see is if there's a ton of people coming to one marketplace, why is so many people coming to this farm? And maybe we can say, hey, let's go and see kind of like what are they doing so that we can help them try to get, or maybe give them more. Like when someone comes into our system, say, hey, we'll give you 1,000 hardcoins of volunteer hours. Put them
Hmm.
in a way that you can get people to show up, and everybody's like, I know hardcoins, I'll come check it out because I'm getting hardcoins out of it. But now here are the quests, like, one or two quests, there's like 10 hardcoins, and
And
people.
it could be also the side thing is like if we're at a festival or a conference and some
Hmm.
random person goes like, oh, I love you guys are doing composting the food waste, can I just join? And they jump in with us and we're like, great, by the way, do you just earned 10 art coins,
Yeah.
don't you want to redeem them? They're like, yeah, I guess. And that onboards them onto our platform, right? And then they
Mm.
can look more and they're like, wow, I get my astrology read and I get to connect to somebody and I get to mentor, and it opens up a whole portal. But
Whole,
sometimes
yeah.
it's just creating the vibration that attracts people in. Even like
Hmm.
we've done community healings in Santa Monica, like out in a park. People entered this our vibration. They're like, "What? This is awesome!" And when they entered it, some people actually got free meals from that. And we could, at that point, we could have just been like, "Hey, you're getting a free meal. By the way, you can keep getting these free meals. Onboard to this thing. Find out
Yeah.
how you can
Yeah.
volunteer." Anyway, so there's a lot of different ways we can onboard people within
Mm.
other people's spaces, not even our own.
Not
Create.
even your, oh, yeah.
Yeah. Now, the deeper conversation too was that we were going to use actual different currencies for the element that you were focusing on too. So the
Mm.
hard point is really like the service-based stuff, but
Hmm.
then eventually, like like farms need water, right? And so what we would do is we would create a currency around what water is and what water means. So what would happen is you'll start to notice that there are farms that actually are low on, because the thing is, economy is actually just the movement of energy, right? The movement
Yeah,
of
yeah.
people buying, selling, buying, selling. But the problem is when it's like money buying, selling, you don't know where the money is going into a system when money is the only form of currency. But if you
Exchange.
have
Yeah.
four types of currency, you'll start to notice, hey, there's a lot of people that love doing earth stuff and farming and water stuff, but no one is doing any entertainment, which is fire, right? Like,
Mm.
why don't we have entertainers showing up here? Well, no one's paying entertainers to show up. And so then we can say, hey, we're going to stimulate the fire economy to get musicians to show up at
Mm.
compost sites. And now they're playing music for people at the compost site. And if people like it, say, hey, I'm going to tip that musician like 10 hard coins. And so what's really good is that this gets the people who aren't professionals to actually just show up and just have fun. Like a musician that's trying to get their name out there, dude, they would just come to a farm, play music while people are composting, and suddenly you have an audience that may not have listened to you, but suddenly they'll listen to you because they're also having fun composting.
Mm.
Or the
Right.
recycling center, and it gets people to come to the recycling center and bring their stuff. There's so many different ways, you know, to kind of Dow jack spaces.
Awesome. Awesome. Awesome.
So
Awesome.
it's really, we're building both the supply and demand, right? The supply is
Mhm.
really the people. We need to build human power, and that's the idea of the hard coins. And then the supply is really the people who give quest out, the people who need human power to support whatever they're doing.
Oh, there's your thing. There's your Roblox. You know, like obviously
Yeah.
we see Roblox is a billion-dollar company now,
Mhm.
and they literally just created their own currency exchange, right? I actually ripped that from their thing, right? And so there is a market for people buying fake stuff. Like Roblox is it's not even real, right? People put money into it and build fake realities from that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
we also imagine this like Unger, like there are people like there's elders out there, like we know them, you know them, who like they have work, wealth, wisdom, right? They might not have the ability to work, but they have the wealth. And so they can also put
Mhm.
money in, infuse money into this to support initiatives as well, you know?
Yeah, so one way, if we had like sponsors, a lot of time people sponsors are like, oh, we'll give you $5,000. Like, well, for us, what we can do is we'll convert that $5,000 to maybe 20 hard coins equals $1.
Mhm.
And so now we can then put that in, because the hard coins are already doing it without the need of, because a lot of times if you actually see how the way you do sponsorship, you have to bring it in, but then you have to figure out where all that money goes. And that becomes basically you pay someone to manage transferring money to someone. But in the system is actually the people are using the system to automatically share where those coins go based on like what they think people are doing. And then once like someone say, hey, I have too many hard coins, can I convert that? Then they come to the place of conversion. Does that make sense?
Yeah. 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 Totally. Totally. No, this is beautiful. How do they? So they have to find places where they can earn hard coins on the platform, or find opportunities. How do you? How would you source those?
So we're the marketplace, right? So we
Yeah.
are finding farms and we're
Hmm.
onboarding them. But then some of us also like do stuff like I do astrology, I do this, I do that. So we are
Yeah.
also vendors ourselves, right? And so we can then sell our services on this using like, hey, for 100 hardcoin, I'm willing to do this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So onboarding the people is not that hard. It's actually easier, but it's really just once you have like people who are interested in joining the marketplace, right? And they're already doing what they're doing. It's not like we're asking them to do something different. It's just
Sure.
now they have like cryptocurrency. People are now like, I take crypto, I take Zelle, I take cash, I take that,
Yeah.
and I take Cosmic Labyrinth hard coins.
Hard coins. Got it. Yeah. 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 Perfect.
Yeah, a part of it too is like it's kind of like reimagining entrepreneurship, right? Like right now, people are like, you know, obviously you can see like Etsy, people are selling stuff on Etsy.
Hmm.
They're selling all these things, but they're not everybody's selling it in marketplaces. One, those marketplaces, who owns them? That's a big thing, right? And like where is that money going? That's a whole
And
nother question of ethics, right? And then also these things are like disjointed. There's no collective story that they're connected to, you know? And so like where can we create an entrepreneurial marketplace that is
mm,
actually connected to ecological restoration and community regeneration, right? Like that's really
right.
what it's about. It's like
Hmm.
meanwhile, people can still sell on Etsy if they want to. That's totally fine. You could still do your own independent things outside of this. But when you come into this space, whatever you're doing is going to be related to
Serving the planet.
right.
Yeah.
Now, the power of this is actually what the basically nonprofits can do is transparency, right? Because the problem with the nonprofit is someone's getting paid to do whatever, we don't know. You just assume they're doing it. In this system, it's all transparent because the hard coins and their maneuvering is the transparency of how it's being passed on. But when you want to convert it to money, this is where like you can actually see, hey, this person actually converted to money. And so you can see like a shop and say, hey, we got 1 million hard coins and we're able to convert, and we only need 20, because maybe they're doing well in their business, so they only need to pull 20% of their hard coins converted into money. But
Hmm.
maybe like, we get a hurricane, shit happens. Like, hey, I'd like to convert 50% of my hard coins into money this month, right? And it's okay with that because they're already in a system supporting the nonprofit theme, which is eco restoration or really all of the things that we're doing that are service based.
Yeah. Yeah. I love this concept. I don't I can't think of another equivalent like this. There is something called Littercoin. Maybe have you heard of it? Littercoin. It's meant for, I don't think it's successful as much, but it's meant for cleanups. If you do cleanups, then you get a blockchain reward for Littercoin. But I'm not sure if it was just a concept or it's actually a
So
thing, but it didn't really go much.
this is the problem also with nonprofits,
Yeah.
is that they actually write themselves into becoming parasitic because they don't want to ever solve their problem. Like right
Yeah.
now, if what happens when the Littercoin has no more littering,
Yeah.
right? Have we
Then
thought about that? Because the whole
yeah.
idea is to stop littering. But once we
Mhm.
solve that problem, where does that money convert to?
Mhm.
Hardcoin is we are creating the projects that need to be focused and solved, right? So
Mhm.
if there's beach cleanup, once that beach cleanup is done, let's convert it to now something else. And that beach cleanup might be a water currency with hard coins that is supported, but suddenly like we no longer need to clean any beaches
Clean
because
the
we did a
beat.
great
Yeah.
job. How do
Mhm.
we then find a new project? And this is the idea that one nonprofit, like the idea of cancer research will never end because they can't end cancer because they make money from trying to end cancer. But if
Yeah.
your money say we beat cancer and now we're moving to something else, to COVID. Imagine all that money being transformed to COVID, and now we just basically like if I can look at a nonprofit and say, wow, we solve cancer, we solve obesity, we solve this, versus today, you're like, when is my money gonna solve cancer?
Mhm.
Right? And
Yeah.
so in a way, like you'll be able to see the projects that people are investing in.
Mhm.
We can or even see like a progress bar. What if we said like the goal for this project is to grow 100 trees, and when we do 100 trees, we're bringing this much oxygen. At 100 trees, the project is fully complete. That all that money is now transferring to the next project,
Mhm.
right? Whatever that is.
Perfect.
Yeah, I mean, and so, you can see like we already like, wow, Charlie, it's funny. I'm looking back at this. I'm like, wow, we're
Yeah.
already executing this stuff. It's kind of like how, like, in a way, this is kind of like our dream board that we're manifesting
Mhm.
anyways, just
Right.
organically. But yeah, here it is. Really, it's about reimagining these Burning Man kind of things, right? But it's like actually, it's like can we be regenerative when we do stuff, right? And can we celebrate? And then talk about Airbnb, Charlie. There's Billy Marie's thing, right? Like, so it's
Oh,
finding
nice.
finding
Yeah.
properties and places that are like actually want to bring in this kind of volunteership where they want to reciprocate, right? Where like Billy Marie already has been like, whoever volunteers, they can come and stay for free. Meanwhile, people pay to stay there on Airbnb, right? But like
Mhm.
creating those relationships with farms and eco villages and places that are like, hey, we want, or it doesn't have to be an eco village, even like the town I'm living in. What if we do an action like Charlie said, planting 100 trees, so people come and they can actually stay at some of these houses, and there
Yeah.
can be some reciprocation because it's helping the community thrive. But we also have grants, right? Like there's a lot of regenerative finance right now. I just went to a meeting the other day where there's like this company has $40 million to do eco restoration projects, and they're like, we don't know where to put it. And it's
40
like,
million for
40,
restoration. That's
yeah, but they don't know where to go because there's a lot of ripoffs and people not
oh
executing
yeah.
not executing projects because they get the money and they don't execute it, right?
Mhm.
Because again, it's that transparency problem, right? Because they're gonna
Yeah.
hire people to actually just move money around, and you're like, who's getting paid to do what? To do to do the project, right?
But it's a culture problem too. Like that's what I brought up at the meeting. And they're like, oh my God, you're right. We didn't think about it. But like you have to build the culture. Like when you do an
Mhm.
eco restoration, it's not just like you just go in there and you're done. Like you have to create a culture that maintains
Mm.
and continues the work. And so that's kind of what we're doing, is kind of like also bringing in the culture, the eco-cultural awareness and activation. So it's
Mhm.
not just like, oh, it's just work. You're just paying some like undocumented Mexican worker, which is what happens.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, that's stage 3. And then, so yeah, this is kind of like, this is what Charlie kind of brought up before.
Yeah.
And I've shared this with you
Mhm.
before. It's kind of
Yeah.
like the meat and bones, or really the DNA is kind of tapping into our astrology, really, right? Like activating all of our astrology and not being afraid of it, you know,
Mm.
but also not being too woo-woo about it too.
Yeah, not being too
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. it's like a starting point for figuring out
Yeah. I
your
mean,
tribe or
technically, astrology was written for us to actually do our mundane work, is what we call it, right? The everyday work. The
Mm,
problem is we turn astrology into like these magical powers. You're like, no,
yeah.
dude, like if you're an earth sign, go work in the yard, go work in the land,
Yeah,
and your
exactly.
gifts will show up, you know? But yet, like, this is why, like, we have all these jobs that don't even come close to the things that we're really good at. And that's why, like,
Mm,
you see so many people like you who are disingenuine from their jobs and don't know how to like put the efforts into something that is actually rewarding them for being
yeah,
themselves.
right.
Speaking
100%
with
agreed.
speaking with Charlie, you got to do Unker's stuff too at some point. Maybe you
Oh
guys can
yeah,
schedule something.
yeah, yeah. Do you have your birth
Yeah,
time,
yeah.
Uncle? Do you know your birth time?
My birth time, not exactly, but I know it was evening time, around 6 or 7 p.m.
Close enough. Close enough. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we could definitely find some time to do an
Okay.
astrology then,
I'd love
and then
to.
you'll
Yeah.
understand the depth of like how
Mm.
how how deep this goes.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Yeah, actually,
Cool.
whenever we have gatherings or we meet for festivals and whatever, we all do that with each other and then look at each other's astrology
Mm.
too, so that we understand each other better, where our strengths and our weaknesses are, and that helps us kind of orient, and
Wow.
understand. Because a lot of times we don't understand this stuff, and so we just take it personally or we make
Mm.
assumptions, and it's like, what if we didn't do that, right? What if we
Mm.
supported each other?
Perfect. Yeah. No, I'd
So
love to do this. This sounds
Charlie,
great.
so Charlie knows I'm a bull. So if I'm bulling it up, like don't take it personally. I'm a bull. I'm gonna break through that thing.
Wait, when is your birthday, Rishi? When
I'm
uh
I'm I'm May 3rd.
May 3rd. Okay.
The
What about what
Taurus,
about you, Unker?
13 January.
13 January.
Yeah.
Capricorn. There's an Earth sign. See, all Earth signs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Charlie
Yes,
too. Charlie, what's your birthday?
September 6th, Virgo.
Oh,
Virgo.
coming
So
up.
right now
Okay.
we have the three Earth right now, the trine of the Earth.
Oh,
Okay.
that's
So
cool.
the bull likes to work on the farm to grow stuff
Mm-hmm.
in spring.
Mhm.
Virgo likes to organize things into buckets and into nice packaging.
Hmm.
And then Capricorn sells the hell out of everything.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. And that's how the three elements of the material world
Wow.
is built. We are the three earth elements are literally the ones who turn everything from raw material into something as a product to be sold.
Right.
The problem today in the
Mhm.
technical world that you're experiencing is the earthy matter and the literally the physical process is lost in the digital world.
Hmm.
So we're trying to bring that back.
Wow.
Yeah, these are really cool because now stay there. You can see kind of the different ways to develop. So all of us are the four houses of
Mhm.
Gryffindor, Hufflepuff, right? But now like you have like a guild and you're part of a water guild, an earth guild, a fire guild, and together and yeah, so you can see like you have different wielding elements. You have different play
Mhm.
shops that you can choose from. You're moving too fast. Wait, go back up one. Go back up. So right here, you can see the different type of play shops, right? So like fire play
Mhm.
shops, controlling the imagination, body health. So this is a lot of movement. So you actually get the fire people to kind of come out and say, "Hey, let's go dancing." But like when you're dancing, you're actually hitting the soil because we need some soil to be what's it called? When you actually have to hit the soil to
Mhm.
create what's it called to condense the soil. This is what animals naturally do. They walk on
Yep,
soil to
yep.
compact the soil, right?
Sure. Right.
Or maybe like we need like grapes to be squished, and so we actually get a DJ to come out there, and all of us are basically just dancing in the grapes, right? And so
Mm.
suddenly you're like, I'm not making wine. I'm just dancing. It just happens that I'm crushing grapes while I'm doing it.
Grapes while you're doing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And
Okay.
so like
But
water
this is
warrior.
infinite, right? Like, I mean, it's really like infinite because eventually anybody can become a mentor, a sensei, a teacher, and then they can create their own play shops, and then those play shops can be connected to
Mhm.
volunteership somewhere, right? Whether it's a farm, ecological project, whatever it is, right? It could be connected, or it can be working with seniors at a senior center. I mean, it's
Sure.
infinite, right? Like we
Infinite. Yeah.
Meanwhile, the other thing is like the other thing to contemplate about this is that there's two ways to operate this. Like right now, we don't have to also get permission from, we could integrate with places to volunteer. But I was, Charlie, you know, the other day I was tripping on this because I had a meeting with a local school to possibly start substituting, right? And I was learning that like the schools are like severely like strapped, like people are not applying to be teachers here in the Bay Area. And then on top, and then they have all these regulations for if you know how you can be a teacher, right? And then the other side of it too is that like the guy was telling me the substitutes come in and they're like, so they don't care. Like they're just coming in substitute. They're not really coming in with anything. So I was like imagining like, holy cow, we can offer heart coins for people to go and apply and be substitutes and go into schools, and they could earn heart coins to go and teach kids about meditation and soil stuff and everything while they're substituting. So they could be making money while also injecting consciousness, eco-consciousness into community.
I mean, seriously, I think if we actually if we talk to the teachers and say, hey, actually, if you join us, your benefits of hard coins are, because this is actually, you know, I mean, I don't know if we do talk a lot about benefits these days as our culture, but like, you know, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, like people always say, well, you got a job, did you get good benefits? Because people use that in a way to explain, well, you know, I'm sure you got a good amount of money, but are you getting benefits on top of the money? Because in a way, that was in a way to show the like how good a company's doing. It's always funny, like people are like, how good a company's doing is how much benefits you get from that company, right? And so we talk about healthcare benefits. I'm like, isn't that just food and medicine? So if food and medicine is taken care of through hard coins, then we're basically giving them benefits on top of maybe that little weak income they get from school, but at least we'll give them, you know, benefits to support whatever that, you know, they love doing.
Yeah, because I mean, I can imagine already like somebody like Tizzle, right, who's already experienced burnout as a teacher. She can be like, hey, if you're substituting, I can offer you like free whatever, you know, healing sessions, right? Because you're substituting. So even a substitute is not going to normally get benefits, but we can start creating a benefit economy for people like nurses or whatever that are doing great work in the system. We could be like, hey, you know, we can honor your work within the system. I love that, dude. That's legendary stuff right there.
Yeah, no, the benefits is that how we get like the teachers and all the.
Plus we offer preventative benefits, right? I think like preventative medicine is what we offer, is like, it's not, we're not the acute medicine. We're like, hey, like here's like, so you don't get sick, or if you have chronic illnesses, here's how we can prevent it.
And
right?
we're an inherent network too. That's the whole thing too of the power of benefits, is you don't want to benefit in a company when you can get a benefit that is used in all the companies you work at. And so you can transfer those benefits and it adds up, versus today, like some benefits are very specific to one place because they have this kind of insurance compared to another place.
Good point. Yeah, and I think, Ankur, this is something we didn't share with you last time, is actually us reimagining the calendar. So like rather than having like you know, top down Google calendars, whatever, right? Just like typical like standard, what is the kind of the hegemony, right? Which is like not, I don't think healthy, is actually us going back to like connecting to the new and full moons, actually acknowledging eclipses, planetary transits, and also cultural holidays, right? Because a lot of the cultural holidays are ecological, right? And so like connecting these are really important. So like people getting more informed and educated about their own heritage, but also learning about other things that are coming up, you know?
No, I love that. Curious to see how this would look like, but I love this idea. This is awesome. Yeah.
So this is something to think about too, in terms of like having a geolocation for cultural holidays, and how there's a temple, or like, it's because we are highly spiritual, right? We're not like, you know, like you're not against spirituality. We're actually with it, right? And so how can we also start to integrate spiritual communities, right? So if there's a temple doing something, we definitely want to integrate with them, but we can also challenge them to be more ecological, right? What are they doing with their food waste? What are they planting? You know, are they growing food? Are they sharing the food with the community?
And I think the deeper conversation too about spirituality is, I think we all understand this because we are we are the children of our parents who are super religious. And what's happened is we carry what our parents taught us spiritually, but we don't want any of the dogma that comes with their religion. And so a lot of us are very spiritual, and like I love going to the Sikh mosque, right? But like I wouldn't go by myself. But if I have a sensei like Indy who takes me, once a week, I would learn to appreciate it. And so this is kind of where I think many religion fail is they're so specific on what they do, they're actually exclusive of everybody else because they don't know how to make that connection. But like our audience, our younger generation, we love each other's religion, but like we don't want to be stuck in that like you have to do that or you can't be in it. You're like, what? I can be Jewish and Hindu and Christian and Buddhist all at once. So who supports that, right? Because that's really the power of cultural appreciation is you can appreciate how the Buddhists do this or the Hindus or the Sikhs, versus like my way is the right way.
That's also how you dissolve hate, right? Like in my opinion, my hypothesis is you don't dissolve hate by being like, all right, now we're going to do an anti-hate session, a workshop, and you're going to not have hate anymore. It's like actually you have to create celebratory spaces where people can come and experience how it is, and demystifying it. That like, oh, you guys aren't a bunch of weirdos. You also believe in God. Oh, I didn't even know that. Like, so we have to build bridges, and rather than like creating more exclusivity.
Agreed. 100%. 100%.
Well, you know that you're in Alabama, bro. So there's a lot.
Yep. Meeting people, hosting bridge events. Yeah, that's the only way.
Actually, you're next door to me.
Wait, where are you, Charlie?
I'm in Texas. I'm in Houston.
Oh, Houston. Okay. I thought you were somewhere closer, but okay.
I mean,
yeah, it's closer than Vichy, definitely.
Yeah. Alabama, what? Where are you in Alabama?
Huntsville, Alabama. So it's in North Alabama, which is an hour and a half from Nashville and 3 hours from Atlanta. So it's in the middle.
Okay. In Georgia, Atlanta is like 6 hours from us. So it'd be like a 9-hour drive. That's not bad.
Yeah. And we might have another ecological project that's in where is she? Oklahoma, Charlie?
Oklahoma. Yeah, Oklahoma.
So she's got a huge animal sanctuary like farm, and she wants to work with us to do like an activation of her land. And so that's a potential spot also for us to plan for.
Yeah, I can drive to Oklahoma most likely. That's easier than
So that's all right. That's exciting that you guys are close. That makes me now that plants a seed for me to put some more energy into that because that's
Tennessee. Tennessee and Nashville. That whole thing is all music. I mean, imagine us like and the music, but like they're all farmers. I mean, I know they're not all in cities. That's the whole worldwide country's music. Is that like the people live in the country?
Yeah. 100%. Nashville is the capital of country music in the United States.
No, I think the bigger conversation that we've been struggling really is we have to address Middle America. We, and it's this with Indy too, but like the West is so far removed from the Middle America that this is why like the politics is so
divergent.
Yeah, because I mean, and that's the thing is like actually Middle America wants this, but again, no one comes to Middle America. I mean, minorities do not because minorities are already stuck in the like the East or West Coast. But like again, like maybe Texas is South, but like Middle America is like country city. Like there's so much land, but like no one, connects to the land that way.
You got a lot of Asian immigrants though. There's a lot of like I noticed when I was in Indiana, there's so many Indians like in the tech industry and whatever. Same thing in Texas. There's a lot.
Yeah.
Professional.
But this is also what we've been talking about is like why do all of our people stick to like these industries? Because we all are farmers, but for some reason when we were converted here, whether our family told us not to or where like people think that like farming doesn't make money, this is why like many of us don't go into, and that's why like the general stereotype is we're either engineers, tech, or doctors. Right? But yet like what happened to farmers or like ranchers? Like an Indian rancher or Asian rancher, like no one talks about that.
But you can still be a doctor on a ranch, and you can still be an engineer.
That's exactly what I want to do. I want to be a doctor on a ranch, a ranch doctor.
You can still be a technologist on a farm.
Well, this is why like what's really exciting today is like why a lot of people have become a tiny house enthusiast. They are or the RV enthusiasts. The technologists, they're all actually going into nature, but they're still connected online. And so how do we really kind of work with them because they're the ones that really love nature, but they're not, a lot of us are not going out and doing it, right? So making it easier to kind of connect in that way.
So Charlie, Billy Marie's been really supporting me with like articulating this and really doing a good job of like kind of, like creating the story for the pitch deck that I'm going to give to JP
Yeah.
Morgan. But I wanted to share this with you, Ankur, because this is kind of like what's synthesized over like what are we really doing with this? Like, what is this directory? Like, what is it? What is it?
Mhm.
And really, this directory and what our mission, it kind of like brings together these four aspects and and the elements in this realistic aspect, that like how can you reimagine education, right? Where it actually centers educators and the economy is around the educators,
Mhm.
right? And like we're like sports players like Steph Curry, whatever, they make so much money when they're good. How come educators are not
Don't, yeah,
supported,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
So that's what we're doing. We're trying to create an economy around educators and create technology that supports educators, right? And
Mhm.
that helps communities identify, oh my God, Indy's in that house over there, or Indy's showing up over there every week at that farm. I want my kids to go over there because he's over there, And so like that's how we can start to reimagine education itself. So
Mhm.
it's not all in a school, right? That's controlled, that actually people are going out and doing projects with educators and
And
learning.
we can give hard coins to kids. That's our hack. Because you can't give money to kids, right? But imagine if like for them to actually pay their teachers to create that relationship, because America is terrible with their connection to teachers. And that's
Horrible.
why I think today, there's such a
Mhm.
weird mental disorder because they don't
Mhm.
appreciate the people that are teaching them anything, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. And so now we can actually say, hey, kids, like actually every time you take a class, choose how many hard coins, because maybe we always give them the same amount of hard coins. You take a class, you get 10 hard coins. How many hard coins do you want to give that teacher? Because then that already creates I appreciate you. I'm going to give you all my 10 hard coins. You're so good.
No, I want an apple, bro.
Then
Organic
you buy,
apple.
you can buy you
Organic.
can buy one apple for 5 hard coins. You can give 2 apples.
Yeah.
So I want to respect your time, Unker, but this is,
Yeah.
this is kind of what I wrote to like, so that it's hard to synthesize this, right, into like a message for an investor, right? So it's like, there's
Mhm.
nothing like it, right? So if you have any ideas or if you take some notes and send it my way to add or like, that would contribute,
Sure, sure,
let me
sure.
know. But
Um, do you have this slide deck somewhere? Viewable, so I can just look at it for ideas and make sure I contribute.
yeah,
And question, what's your technical skills? What have you coded
Yeah.
in and what do you enjoy coding in?
I mean JavaScript, Python. I specialize in using geospatial data, so that's my for the past almost four
It's
four
more
and a half years.
web apps,
Um,
right?
yeah. So have you, Rishi? Did he see the mining app?
yeah.
Um.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
the video. Yeah, I watched the video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Okay. So yeah.
that's like that's a very web application. Just because
Yeah.
that another conversation is like, do we go app based or do we do a web app
Mm,
that is
mm-hmm.
to work through the phone system? Like I haven't been in the tech space, like where are like how good things are, and like HTML5 was supposed to revolutionize and take away apps. Clearly, that
Mm-hmm.
didn't happen. It's still slow as hell, and everyone's still doing apps because it's much more
It
responsive
is. Yeah.
than
It
a
is. It
web
is.
application. However, can we make an app that maybe most of it is using the interface of app, but then like
Mm-hmm.
we offset a lot of the data to web application that anyone can then access the web application, but the app when you're using on your phone, you're using the app rather than the web app because the web, as you can see, you can get really slow running through that on top of your
Mm-hmm.
phone. But if there's a way to create a phone app, and that's the thing is like I haven't really done, and I'm not choosing to go into programming. I've chose to let that go and not go into it
Sure.
because that's just not my strength anymore. And I think there's so many kids now. I mean, and I say kids because a
Mm-hmm.
lot of kids are learning how to make apps.
100%.
So we
100%.
can
Yeah.
easily kind of find a front end developer, but I just was
Mm-hmm.
trying to see kind of where's your background because if Billy
Yeah.
Marie's an
App
app
developer.
developer, that'd be
Yeah.
brilliant. But then we have the whole OS versus Android. I've heard like some applications were able to actually build on one application and output to both iOS and Android. So
Mm-hmm.
that conversation is a deeper conversation, but at least it gets us moving because then I mean, for you, you're just the environment coder, which is great because I don't know anybody else who's really good at that. So at least we have that under our table. But it
Yeah.
would be nice to then have like people who can kind of like really build out the
Mm-hmm.
that.
Yeah, totally. And then Rishi, I love windy.com. It's excellent with a lot of risk mapping.
And
Wind mapping.
it's pretty good, right? Because it's just
Yeah.
off of the web, so it's not on an
Mhm.
app.
Yeah, I mean there is a phone app, but yeah, the web app is way cleaner and much
Okay.
more. Yeah, yeah.
So I'm curious how we can back engineer, reverse
Mhm.
engineer what they have, even.
Yeah.
I think our power is not necessarily to rebuild everything from scratch, but to
Mhm.
become a hub of the different applications that are being used already, right? Because I know because
Yeah.
climate change is such a big deal, I'm sure so many people are coding stuff for climate and environment.
Yep.
So we don't need
Mhm.
to be our own little environment coders, but if we can pull from different sources depending on what our needs are, right?
Sure. Very
You can
doable.
see
Yeah.
windy could be a great, air elemental economics.
Mhm.
Totally. Yeah, and thanks, Uncle, for staying a little bit longer.
Of
I'm
course.
not sure if
Yeah.
you have to run, but
No. Sure.
thanks, man. I mean, I think this is a conversation we got to keep having. I think
Yeah.
it'd be great to have Billy Marie in the next one so we could find out what she's also bringing to the table, and then yeah, I want to also get your permission, Uncle. Like, can I
Mhm.
when I send this pitch deck to the JP, I'm trying to send it the next couple of days.
Okay.
Is it okay to put you on there? And if it is okay, can you just give me like what ideally I could put underneath your name, So
Okay. Yeah, let me email you that. I'll text you. I have your number. I'll just text you.
yeah, just text me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
let me know. Let me know.
Sounds
And I
good.
want to put the soil to save Charlie. The way I
Oh, the
met
soul.
Unker
Yeah.
is that
Yeah.
he's got a whole like a film project like going where they're already doing storytelling and they're honoring different BIPOC, different people who are doing farms and sustainable
Mhm.
farming and stuff.
Yep.
So he's already got the storytelling thing going. And it's like
Nice.
so I was saying Unker like eventually we have our own production studio and like go
We
run with
can.
it. Like that's
We can. And yeah, I mean the trailer is ready. We're actually working on a short 8 to 10 minute episode, initial pilot film, and that's going to be out by mid-September. So that's the latest on that.
Nice.
Yeah,
I always mess it up. Soul to soil or soil to soul?
the second one, the from soil to soul. Yeah, from soil to soul.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Next time I can show a trailer or two. We have some
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's so important. Storytelling is the key, So that's also integral.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, cool, man. Well, thank you. Thank
Awesome.
you. Thank you, Ankur. Thanks,
Thank
Charlie.
you.
I feel complete. How do you guys feel?
I feel
Yeah.
good.
Feel good
Pretty
too.
awesome. Yeah, this is awesome.
All right, we're on to something. With all the crazy shit that's happening around the world, we're on to
Yeah, this can be a huge network effect, ripple impact here. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we know that a lot of people are doing this, like actually going to
Mhm.
farms and leaving the cities, right? And so
Yeah,
really,
yeah.
how do we create a network around that, but then
Mhm.
slowly help those who are interested in going to farms, but they don't have their own farms?
Yeah, totally. Totally.
Yeah, guys. Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thank you.
All right.